Hi, everybody. And you've got John Gentile, and you also have Combat, Coffee, and Sometimes Wine, the podcast. And so if you haven't, make sure you press the like and subscribe button so you can get more information and more podcasts. We've got a lot of interesting people we're coming in contact with relating to training, martial arts, policing, military, and even dancers. So we don't take any prisoners. Right today, I have a special guest, but before we go there, I want to acknowledge the manager of the podcast, which is my wife, Nicole Gentile. She's also the editor. So she keeps us in check, making sure everything's good going on the technical side. And we're pleased to have her on board with us so that we can make this good for you guys to watch. And hopefully you learn something and you get a hold of, you're going to meet Anthony Brown today. So without further ado, Anthony the Hitman Brown, thank you for participating, giving us your audio and video of your consent so we can use this to show people and showcase your talent as the man you really are. And today is, you're okay with that, right? All right, let's just check your volume real quick. Check your volume button. Stand by, people. Something happened, but I know we can fix it. I'm gonna check down here, make sure we're good. There you go.
There we go.
Got you back again. Yeah. Okay, listen, it's not a big deal. This is supposed to be fun, right? So anyway, I'm here. So anyway, I've got your permission to use your audio and video stuff and your photos because we're going to dress you up a little bit, make you look shiny and you know who you are, right?
Yes, 100%. I give my permission.
All right. So anyway, I'm happy to have him on board. This is Anthony, the Hitman Brown. He's got a lot of martial arts background. He's got origins and dancing and things he's done in the past that really transformed somebody into the martial arts. And he also was a policeman for a lot of years, same department as mine. So I'm proud to know him as a brother officer. And you know what? He's done a lot. So I'm not going to tell you everything, but here we go. Anthony, thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and for people who may not know you out there, how you got your introduction into martial arts and police work.
Okay, well, my name is Anthony Brown, like John said. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I come from a huge family, a family of 14. It's the 13th of 14, the 7th of 8 boys. And my father passed away when I was 10, and my mother said, "You're not gonna run the streets." So she sent me and my younger brother to the St. John's Recreation Center where I first got introduced to Shotokan karate. And my brother took boxing. Bruce Lee was out, so I thought I was going to be the next Bruce Lee. And so from there, I started training in Taekwondo because I love the kicks, the fancy kicks and everything. I was like, this is amazing. I want to do that. I was on the Nevada Taekwondo team and went to the nationals, tore my tendons and ligaments in my leg, at the nationals, and wound up, not being able to go on. And after I healed, I got introduced to the sweet science of Muay Thai kickboxing. I said, wow, I could put boxing, which I'm a huge boxing fan, and martial arts together. That's the ticket for me. So I trained under Master Toddy here in Las Vegas and traveled to Thailand. I fought 5 or 6 times in Thailand. I fought in Japan. I fought in China, won a couple of titles. And I actually fought in a bare knuckle competition, Thailand versus Burma. And I represented Thailand for a television show. And, for the bare knuckle championships of 2005. And I won. Knocked my guy out in the first round. And then from there, this whole time I'm doing all this, I also joined the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and became a police officer. And, me being the type of person I am, I was always in the entertainment business. And I said, you know what? I can do both. I could be a police officer and a dancer, and I could fight and do all the things I want to do. So that's what I did. I joined the show Jubilee in Las Vegas. I did Siegfried and Roy. I did Jubilee. I did Hello Hollywood Hello. And I was holding down 3 different things. Then finally, I got introduced to Krav Maga after I stopped fighting. I never retired. I just stopped fighting. And I brought Krav Maga to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. There were other Krav Maga people there, but there were none who were instructors. They brought it to the department, and that's how I've always known John since, I don't even want to go back and say how long. And I knew he was a martial artist, and we always talked, and I was around a great group of people. I was in the Advanced Officer Skills section of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, and that's when I retired. That's where I retired from, after 25 years of service and 8 years there.
All right, we got some good stuff there, but I got to ask you a couple questions, all right, because
Sure.
people might want to know. You became, we can see your knockouts. They're on YouTube. People can watch, see your fights. Obviously, you got a lot of stamina, you got a lot of strength, and Lord knows you were one hell of a man in the ring there, and a hell of a guy. So how did you come up with the nickname, the Hitman?
The Thai guys always said, because I was getting knockouts, I was knocking people out, and the Thai guys were like, "Oh, you're a hitman, you're a hitman." And I thought it was excellent because I was a police officer. I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, that might work." There's a lot of different people who use that name. I like to liken it as Tommy Hitman Hearns, if I'm boxing, but that's how I got it. The Thai guys would say, "Oh, you're a hitman, boom, boom, boom," and you knock them out. I'm like, okay, I'll use it. And that's how I got it.
All right. Well, it definitely stuck because I've held pads for you before. Let's talk about something else here real quick. That dancing you did, like a lot of people come visit Vegas and they'll go to these strip shows, and some of them are real big productions. That was a big production show that you were in.
Yes, and it's funny you said strip shows and people think stripper. No.
Yeah. Well, Las Vegas Strip. It's a difference, right?
Yes, I worked at Bally's Hotel in the show Jubilee. It was the longest running show in Las Vegas. I was the lead male dancer in that show, and dancing was something I could always street dance. And once I went to college, played basketball for a year, and I said, you know what, I want to do something I want to do. And so I went back home and got involved with dancing, went to the 42nd Street and Broadway and doing all that stuff, taking classes there, and became a dancer and got hired, and the rest is history. I traveled dancing as well. And then I came to Vegas because they were filming Rocky IV. And people told me, I was living in Mexico City doing a show out there, and they said, you should come out to Vegas. And I was like, Vegas? Okay. Rocky IV? Cool. I thought it was out, and as it turned out, they were filming in the show Jubilee for the opening scene, Living in America, which James Brown was singing.
Very cool. Very cool.
And I clammed that bull for 19 years. The bull that Apollo Creed is hitting.
Oh yeah.
I clammed that bull. So
that was a cool scene, by the way. That was good.
That was the actual cast of Jubilee, and I wasn't in it then. I got there and they were like, "Oh, we're using the cast, but we want you to audition for the show," and I did, and I moved back. That's when I moved to Vegas.
All right. Well, I know that you've had a lot of background in police training, and you've already alluded to all your martial arts background, which is, you're a lifer in my eyes, which anybody that has the lifestyle that does it as long as you have, or some people say myself as well, but, we've done it a long time, and we don't want to give our ages away. But with that said, when you were training the police, you were obviously in training a lot. The question's kind of like this: like, if you were to train an officer in one or two things or a couple things, where would you spend the time to focus that energy?
I would spend the time, believe it or not, in using Krav Maga. The strikes from Muay Thai is a component of Krav Maga, but I would also have it where they had a knowledge of how to get up if they're taken down, and how to maneuver and scramble so that they're not they can use their tools while on the ground.
Yeah.
That would be the biggest thing. So I think if you had a component of Krav Maga and Jiu-Jitsu, and some of the arm bar takedown, there's so much, John, that you can use and police officers can use. A lot of martial artists, a lot of systems say this is all you need. No, it's not. I know, people will say, oh, all you have to do is do jujitsu. Well, think about what you have on you as a police officer. How can you do jujitsu and concentrate on getting an arm bar? And I'm saying solely jujitsu, but you say you're in a bar, and how can you be aware of those who are around you if you're grappling on the ground? So it depends on where you're at. And I'm not knocking any system. I think anything is better than nothing, And I tell the guys, get your jujitsu training, get your taekwondo, get your Krav Maga, go do Muay Thai kickboxing. If you go to Thailand, they only use their system, Muay Thai kickboxing.
Right.
That's what they use. They don't use anything else. They call it Muay Baram, but that's all they use.
Have you ever trained in that Kabrang at all? Have you ever had exposure to some of that, the weapons portion?
Yes. And again, weapons are another thing that we carry the baton, we have a taser, we have capstan, okay? Of those three, what are you most likely to go to? More than likely, you're going to go to the taser, because it's going to stop them at a longer distance from you. But again, you have to be proficient in everything. And I just think, my personal opinion, and I think you'll agree with me, is that we're more than likely are going to go hands-on with somebody than we are to use any of that.
Yeah.
And so you have to have a good idea of how to deal with that hands-on.
Well, it's a credit to you, but it sounds to me like versatility is the biggest thing, right? I mean, and not just exposure, which leads me into my next question, of course, which was, we had a project that you were part of in Wristlock, and you were a part of that project. I can remember when we sat down talking about this in the early stages. You weren't around yet, but we talked about who would be good. And of course, making a movie about motivation of training and things that really police should be doing, and other people too, by the way, this casts far beyond the movie of Wristlock, which you're a part of, but, had a lot of discussion with a lot of people. And I remember us talking about this in the beginning, and it was like, okay, who are we going to really select for this? And it's a documentary, and most people are like, well, documentaries are boring, and it's not boring. we put a little action in there, me holding the pads. Part of my job was to try to make you guys showcase you guys in your martial arts area. But with that being said, you can never show enough, right? We could talk martial arts all day. And, and that's just a glimpse. So I would encourage people, if they haven't seen Wristlock, there's some great clips in there. One of you knocking out a guy in the ring, which always is like, welcome to Anthony Brown. But getting to kind of that point of making a Wristlock, obviously you were selected because we handpicked our people, and we handpicked them for a variety of reasons. And of course, we needed some grapplers, we needed some strikers, and we needed the unknown, which was, kind of weapons and things like that. Right. So, and of course, the people of the duty belt, which, like it or not, the duty belt is part of what we have. And if you don't have a duty belt, yes. But even if you don't have a duty belt, we always debate it back and forth that, even if you're playing clothes, you got to know where your stuff's at,
Exactly.
And you don't have a radio, and you don't have a lot of things. So, there's an adaptation that these young officers and new people need to know about, and even security people, even people who are raising kids, we've talked about it in the movie, right? So as far as parents and people trying to get their kids involved in martial arts, what's the big pros to you about getting kids in that lifestyle?
The pros to me, number one, is going to teach your kid confidence, self-confidence. It's going to teach them respect. I'm old school. I like them to have a gi. I like them to come in and bow. There's a new generation of fighting, your MMA, where a lot of schools that they don't require that you do that. I like that old traditional, hey, you're going to learn a kata, but if I'm going to be honest, and we're talking strictly for self-defense, I would say Krav Maga again. because again, it gives you a lot of how to answer a situation and get away from it. You know, you're not going to stand there and, you know, you're fighting. Oh yeah, I'm ready. You're going to deal with the attack and get out of there. And that's what kids need today, and parents, everybody, police officers, everybody. Yeah, we need that. And so that's my opinion. Now, I'm a traditionalist. I love watching and I love doing Taekwondo. I love doing Shotokan. I love doing all that stuff. But I understand that there's more. You have to be well versed in everything. You used a great phrase, versatile. You know, and one thing, it gives you motivation to do other things when you know how to do that one thing. Like right now, at my age, I'm training now for triathlon. you know, I had just come from swimming. I said I'm on my way home. You know, but you know, it's one of those things that it just keeps you motivated to do other things.
All right, getting back to the movie real quick. For police officers, obviously you're saying the same type of thing, right?
Yes.
It would be the same thing. And even if a guy's been on 20 years, still be encouraging for him to do something, even if he hasn't.
Listen, you know, I'm not a believer in age. Oh, you're too old to do that. Or, you know, because if that's the case, we would have clocked out a long time ago.
Well, if you're doing a triathlon right now, you've already beaten that button to death, okay?
You know, but it's just that it's something I've always wanted to do. So I'm just going to do it. I'm going to stop putting it off and do it. I'm just going to do it. And so I'm going to train for it. Now, I'm going to make sure I'm ready to do it. I'm not just going to jump into one. Oh, here we go. No, I'm going to train for it and get prepared for it and do my best. That's all I can do. But I think that with law enforcement, police officers, and I said something in the movie, and I wanted to get back to that. I said police officers don't train, and what I should have said is police officers don't train defensive tactics. Police officers go to the gym all the time. They lift weights, they pump iron, they do all that stuff, and that's good. However, how does that training transcend into defensive tactics? Okay, and that's what I hope I got that across when I, you know, in the movie.
I think you did, because I happen to own a copy, and you say they don't train enough, and I would agree with that, because you kind of like lingered on the last word, but it's like, you know, don't train enough, and that makes sense, because you know what, we don't train enough. In my eyes, you know, we none of us train enough. No. You know, I mean, why? Because we want to stay youthful at this point. We want to keep doing what we're doing. We're at a different stage because we're kind of lifers in it. So, you know, if you're not training with injuries, you're not training, you know, that kind of thing. You know, things happen, but you still have to keep that mind fresh. And I think in wrist lock, there was a lot of good things you brought out in wrist lock, which was one, evident, you know, it was evidence that striking, no matter how the media portrays it, is a valuable tool that should not be taken away from officers.
Yes, it is. 100%. You know, and I see these, you know, right now the big thing in the media is using a choke, any type of choke hold, or it's not even a choke hold. You're not choking the person, but anything where your arm goes around their neck, that's media has it that, oh, they're choking them.
Yeah.
Now, you and I both know that's not true, but the media and people watching, they don't know that. So if someone comes up to you and throws a punch, I see these videos of these people walking past somebody, bam, they punch him, and the person goes down, and they're totally helpless because they weren't expecting that punch to come. And that's what bad guys are expecting. Whether you're a police officer, security, or just an average Joe on the street, they're expecting for you not to expect them to do something. And more importantly, they don't expect for you to retaliate and do something that's going to stop them.
Yeah, so I thought that was some good points you made in the film on that, as much as the ones you're making right now, because we get snippets. And the snippets don't always show officers in the best light, because you only have 8 seconds or 10 seconds of that. And you don't know what really transpired that led up to that, which that's all part of our decision-making process in law enforcement, for those of you that don't know that. So,
and in martial arts, I would say the biggest tool we have in martial arts is your brain. You got to think about where you're at, what you're doing. Your head's got to be on a swivel. We all have a sense of when something's not right. And we tend to go, I'm just overreacting. It's gonna be okay. And then we go in, and then bam, it wasn't a good thing. So we got to use all the natural senses that we have. And you and I been doing the martial arts in the game a long time. We tend to know, and we tend to look, we tend to watch. But people who are not in it, that can be your start. Using this, thinking about it. Everybody thinks black belt. Oh, they say black belt. Yo, black belt. I'm a black belt. And you and I both know once you get your black belt, that just means you can start learning some of the basics.
Of course, you've been through some hoops. Now the real training begins. Can you stay consistent? Can you do what you used to do? But I think people in martial arts, getting back to the movie, we talk about the origins of every technique we've learned in police academies and stuff. Yes. does come from origins of martial arts.
Of course, 100%.
I think guys like you and Jason Harney, the filmmaker, really did a good job because you guys were in the inside trying to make things work. Because bureaucracy can be tough, right? For a big agency, as we know, right?
It really can.
And we were the gold star. I'm gonna say Las Vegas Metro was very good compared to many departments I've seen. Especially during this filming, we've gone, nationwide, looked at some other departments. They don't get what we get, we all talk about it on the side. We've been talking about it for years.
Yeah. And let me just say, the film, when I saw the film, I was blown away with the talent that you guys got together for the film. And I just felt honored to be a part of it. You guys had everybody, people that I worked with, Mike Bland, Marcus, people I worked with outside of the police department, Forrest Griffin, he and I, we sparred together.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's a little known fact. Nobody knows. So I'm glad you brought that up, because when I chatted with him and worked out with him, which he treated me very good, by the way, he did not kill me. But he talked about it, and obviously knew you because he sparred with you. So that was a fantastic experience.
Yeah, he sparred with me. I was, they would always call me up to be Anderson Silva. I fight southpaw, and I kick, and I can do all that stuff. So they would call me up, and I enjoyed training with Forrest. And that's when I found out that he was former law enforcement. And he had a mindset that he wanted to train other police officers, and I thought that was great. And so, but I've just had the pleasure of working with all these guys and seeing them and seeing them progress. I've been following. I'm on Instagram, and I'm not good on it. I just like the pictures. I don't post anything, but I see Mike Bland is doing seminars. Yeah. He's going around, and good for him. I think all of that is necessary. And in today's society, the way things are going for law enforcement, we have to make sure that, one, these officers are trained. And because if they're trained, and we talked about this, if you're less likely to use deadly force, if you have defensive tactics, a good command of defensive tactics. In fact, you're less likely to use any force because you're confident. You don't go, okay, I got to hit him first before you hit me. I got to keep hitting him. You're confident. You know what you can do.
Well, you have to have that age-old thing, someone in your face. You have to be able to, de-escalate it, right? Well, we used to call that verbal judo years ago, and before that, we called it conversation. Talk to people. But be aware of your range. Be aware of your range. But talk to people. Treat them with respect. And
bad guys know. They can tell when an officer does not feel comfortable talking, and they'll try you. They try to creep up a little closer to you, and they can see if you're going to respond by, hey, step back a little bit. Listen, keep getting closer to me. That makes me feel uncomfortable. Why don't you step back a little bit? Or if you're just going to let them come, and then now they're within arm's reach, now you got a problem. If they decide that they want to take it further. And that's something that we really have to work on with our police officers, and not to knock them, not saying that, they're bad police officers because they don't, but it's just that they're so worried about all these other things. They're worried about, what is the department going to say? What is the perception of what I'm doing by the media? What is, am I going to get sued by everybody and lose everything that I've worked hard to get?
Yeah.
The most important thing, though, should be, am I going to make it home tonight?
Yeah.
The way I came to work.
Well, I think a lot of people have voiced, that there's more of a hesitancy nowadays. And there's, of course, you've outlined all the reasons for that, right? So unfortunately, we are kind of getting towards the end. So let me ask you this. Of course, we thank you for your contribution to Wristlock. And where can people, if they wanted to train with Anthony the Hitman Brown, or at least find them, or do you have an email or anything we can do to get people in touch with you?
It's very simple. You can call, my email is Anthony, it's Hitman Brown LV at gmail.com. You can also get a hold of me on Instagram. And yeah, I do a lot of privates. If you're interested in getting private, give me a shout out. And I do. And one thing I left out is that I teach Krav Maga and Muay Thai. So I'm known as a Muay Thai fighter because that's what I did. And I always have a special place in my heart for Muay Thai, but I do teach Krav Maga as well. And hit me up and we can make it work.
And of course, it was great having you in the movie Wristlock. So if nobody has seen Wristlock, it's the martial art influence on use of force. It's also, you can order it up. I'll put a link below on that, which is www.lightningdigitalentertainment.com in case you want to watch that. We thank everybody for tuning in. If you want to see more of Anthony Brown in the future, I don't think we have a problem bringing him back as long as he's game. And Anthony, thanks a lot for joining us and our viewers at home. And press and subscribe that like button so we can keep you in our other podcasts that we have going on. And you maybe can, I doubt they'll put you to sleep because we talk about training and fighting and things like that. But we also have fun too. So thanks, Anthony.
Thank you, and take care. All right.